Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something clicked.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and you...
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I was just listening. Back to our last call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen often, but I really feel like for whatever reason, and maybe we can figure out that reasoning, but for whatever reason, the realizations and kind of deeper grief that came forward towards the second half of that call, I just completely forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a couple of IFS sessions since then, either solo or with my other practitioner, and none of that came up. It just listening back to it right now, I was like, I don't know where that went, but that really went away after that.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
I don't recall a specific intention that you'd set in the call.
Sorry, how do you mean?
Well, a lot of times I'm encouraging people to, put those action steps in their calendars and such. And I don't recall us doing that. Do you know if there was it an intention that you didn't follow up on, or was it never negotiated in the first place?
It might not have been negotiated in the first place. I didn't make it all the way to the end of the call. Mm-hmm. So I'm not 100%, but to the point in which I've made it so far in re-listening. And I know I re-listened to it later on that same evening. Yeah, I don't recall an intention.
Yeah.
To reconnect.
Okay. Well, that's something we could aim for today if you like.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit alarming. have such a big realization, big kind of aha. And then listening back to it right now, and like, it felt like a aha all over again for the first time. Like, that's so interesting.
Glad we got it on record.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and in recalling our session to my other practitioner, I like skated right over it. Like, I'm thinking back to how did I recount or recall that to Steph, and I think I just said something along the lines of like, you know, she always asks, "Is there anything I should know about your work with James?" Or solo work, and I'm pretty sure I was like, "Oh yeah, we connected with the young part. It was pretty great." Like, I really don't like. I don't think I gave her like any. I don't think anything came to mind at that point. And then her and I ended up working with more kind of figuring it out, puzzling pieces that this might be worth mentioning to you. Yeah, in that session, something that I hadn't really realized before that kind of came to light or became a little bit more clear was, you know, these kind of figure it out parts, either mine or this young one's, like, figure it out parts kept popping up. And it seemed like I could do work with them and I can hear them and I can do work with them, but they were still very like stuck and still very persistent in their way of being. And one thing that became a little bit more clear in that session was there's a part that is specifically externally focused, like figuring out the external world, figuring out who's trustworthy, who's not, what's safe, what's not. And then there's a very separate figure it out part that is only internally focused, trying to put together the internal puzzle, but that those two figured out parts are not connected, not sharing info, working in, you know, completely different departments on the same task, basically,
right.
like, or similar task. Yeah.
Okay. And how's your relationship with those parts since working with them?
Come to think of it, it's been very relaxed since then.
Curious if one of them was more prominent, the internal or the external figuring out?
External, for sure.
Okay. Well, that is also something that in the conclusion of our last call, we were talking about self's ability to find trustworthy people in the community.
Right.
You were talking about, like, I'm not going to bullshit this exile that I'm her dad.
Right.
But we were kind of talking about just what that would look like for self to do that assessment externally.
Wow. Right.
So it would make sense that
Yes.
the figure it out external part, it's like, hey, now's my time.
Yeah, that does make sense. It is interesting. Yeah, that came up. That was pretty much the focus of the whole session. And until like a certain question was posed, that made me realize, oh, this part is not concerned at all about figuring out the internal situation. And then I realized, well, it's not because I don't have other parts that aren't doing that. Like, in fact, I can definitely say I have parts that are tasked with putting the internal puzzle together and all of that. So then realizing how just the distance between them, and that, setting that intention that in fact, maybe we could find a way to team together. This one that's externally focused has got a certain number of puzzle pieces, and then the one internally focused has a different set of puzzle pieces, and they're both trying to create this complete picture, but they're not, they've only got little bits of the picture themselves, and they're not communicating. So yeah, that's really interesting, because I do feel like this last week, since then, it's just felt a lot more. I've felt a lot more peaceful in my interactions with men and dating, and I've felt like I haven't frozen. I haven't panicked in the face of intimacy, and I might people please still in a moment. But what's interesting is, like, very, very quickly, this calm reasoning comes in and recognizes when we're doing that, and can really easily, it's like connecting that external and internal, figure it out, and realizing, like, oh, that thing that we just did to figure out what they want, now we turn that around and we sit with that internally. How does that feel for us, trying to give that to them, or what they want? How does that land with us? And then I get to decide if I want to engage in that or not. And it's like that connection has felt easier. Yeah.
Okay.
It's reassuring that all of this plays out without a lot of conscious effort. Like,
I think so.
I mean,
yeah.
Like, the conscious effort is in these calls and in my own sessions and work with my parts. But, like, then in the day to day, it feels like even when I don't have that fully conscious awareness of each working part, they're still remembering all the talks we've had and the work we've done.
Yeah, that's my experience also.
Yeah.
Having the big insights are pretty sustaining. Or the big shifts in relationships, internal relationships.
Yeah. This might be a little bit off topic, and we don't have to go into it for very long, but it was just something that I had wrote down to bring up today. So can we take a 5-minute story break where I just run a question by you, or pose something to, like, a theorizing break? I guess sure. It is more than a story break.
If that's what you want, that's fine.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've had a very long-standing, dedicated yoga practice, and a lot of my mentors in that and teachers in that, there's a lot of things that they say that I find connections to, as far as self or lifestyle, ways in being with yourself. Different things are like, yeah, okay, this is very much aligned with parts work or IFS. And then there's other ways in which it's like so absolutely opposite. And it is hard sometimes, or parts of mine find it difficult to like grapple with the stark differences of what I'm being told as like truth from yoga instructors that I value and that I respect, versus what I'm learning and understanding through IFS. And yeah, I guess the theorizing thing that I wanted to bring to this conversation was like, how do you make sense of these differences? So the sort of analogy that was given this morning in practice was, and I might butcher this story, but you might have heard this story before. I think it's a pretty famous proverb, but like there's a young boy in the forest. He's looking at two wolves. One of the wolves is anger, greed, all of these negative qualities, right? And then the other wolf is goodness, compassion, all of these positive qualities. And the little boy turns to his father and asks him which wolf will win in this battle, because they're faced off to one another. And the dad responds, whichever one you feed. And it's like, to me, she was trying to say, feed, and that was the whole focus of the practice this morning, like feed the good in you. Feed the good that you see in the world. Feed that. And there was this message to just like turn away from the anger and the lust and the negative, quote unquote, negative aspects. And it's just like, when that happens in practice, when things like this start getting brought up, like I feel parts of me get really angry. Like, no, stop saying that to people. Yeah.
I'm with you. That's my biggest complaint about yoga class. It's like, if she would just stop that preaching, this would be great. Yeah. I mean, I could try to analyze that proverb with IFS stuff, but I don't know.
I'm like, feed both of them. They both need your food.
Yeah.
Why does one have to win over the other? I don't know.
Well, I think that, they're talking about like, you're showing up as angry or you're showing up as compassionate. And I think that like in IFS, if we're talking about having a goal of being self-led, then we could say, well, yeah, we're wanting to show up as compassionate. So
right.
I'm just trying to see, where there is some parallels there.
There's always a lot of parallels. That is the funny thing. There's always a lot of parallels where it's like, there's glimpses of
right, because we're all swimming in the same water, the same kind of experience of having all these different parts. But the other traditions just they are usually like that. They're typically just kind of lesser dimensional or have a lower resolution, where there's a good and a bad, and that's at least a lot simpler to explain and understand. And be good, don't be bad. All right. I mean, that accounts for like 80% or so of the traditions and religions, I think.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you're like the similarities, like you're saying, because we all are working within this system of all these different feelings and emotions and things and how we make sense of them. And I can see how like IFS and yogic practices, for example.
I can't hear you.
This way, and the other one went the other way.
Your call dropped for like 5 seconds. You said you can see how IFS and yoga practices
I'm going to turn my Wi-Fi off. I forgot to do that, and that has caused problems before. So, okay. Yeah, I was just saying, like, it seems right. That the yogic practice and IFS is very similar up until a point, and then at a point, it does seem like there's a clear delineation or like a clear kind of separation of where the beliefs went.
Mm-hmm.
IFS holding one set of beliefs and the yogic practice holding kind of a different one. But I think it's just, it's hard to grapple with because it's like, this is such a major part of my life and something that I have found so much self energy and so much solace and comfort in. But then when they start talking in this way about like, oh yeah, it's always just let it go. Just let it go. Be in peace. Let it go. And I'm like, no, please stop.
Yeah.
That's not how. You don't just like will your way away from all of your struggles and concerns through sheer force of just like, just go away.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, I'm with you. I think we're pretty cutting edge here with what we're practicing, and I'm grateful, and it's also griefful to know how many people are not have any knowledge of parts or self or any of those deeper shades or resolutions of what's going on internally.
Yeah, or why it might be really difficult to choose peace or goodness. Like, and I can see in myself, like, a lot of times, and I've seen this in other people too, it's like a lot of times when you have difficulty making sense of like, well, why can't I just do what this all-knowing, all-being yoga teacher is telling me to do? I'm having trouble with it. I can't do it. Must be me. I must be fucked up. Like,
I was just going to say the same thing. That's what happens with that kind of teaching or mindset. It's like, well, but I did get angry.
Sure.
So yeah, that can only basically mean there's something wrong with me.
I'm doing it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think I just absolutely giant sigh of relief in finding IFS and parts work and understanding for the first time that I'm not being told to just will myself away from the difficult emotions. It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, we've all tried that.
I hope it doesn't come in between me and the physical aspect of the asana, because that is just, it really is, it's so healing, especially like as a survivor of sexual abuse. It's just like that's a way that I get to be in my body, connected to my body amongst other people in a room full of strangers, men and women included. And we're all able to breathe together and be together and move together. And it's like that part of it is just immensely healing and wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I just have to like work with my parts when the teacher's, saying stuff that makes parts get a little like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, you can work with those parts. You can teach your teacher. You can check out some of the IFS yoga practitioners on YouTube. I know of at least one.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm a certified yoga instructor as well. It's nothing that I ever planned on doing professionally. I just wanted to get certified to have the knowledge for myself. And but I am curious now as I build this practice, like what that might bring into it, or how I might mix that in there. So that'll be cool. I'll check out some
Sounds
IFS yoga peeps. Thanks for going down the little rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, you know that the physical practice and just being with other people, breathing, doing what you're doing is valuable. So
Yeah, really valuable for sure. Yeah. I do think it's provided like a great foundation for parts work. I see a lot of similarities. I remember at one point in my practice with yoga, I realized that I was kind of stuck on certain goals. Like I want to do this posture, this pose. And I would be like kind of let down if that's not what I worked on in class that day, right? Like, oh, we didn't focus on splits or whatever the thing was that I wanted to be able to do. And and then after like a couple of years of practice, I had this moment where it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like just right between the eyes, like, even when I don't think I'm working on splits, for example, I am. Like every single time I show up and I'm doing some type of movement or connecting breath with movement, I'm working on all of those poses and postures. And I relate that a lot to parts work. Like we might get discouraged or disappointed because I didn't go to that exile or that part, or and then when you realize that no matter what part you're focusing on, it's all progress. It's all connected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Want to do parts work?
Yeah.
You sure? We don't have to.
Oh no, I'm actually real down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I would like that. I'm really excited for that.
Okay. Minute of meditation?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll set a timer. Okay. Got any parts you'd like to work with today?
I'm sure that there are. None are coming to mind.
Okay. We talked about the not following up with that part from our last conversation, and we could try going back there and see if there's any requests it has around doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was helpful, your reminder of where we left off with talking about me being the one to help her find those safe examples.
Yeah. So are you able to contact that part now?
Yeah, it's pretty fresh coming off of listening to that call.
Mm-hmm.
Like her feelings and sensations, they're just a lot more subtle than I'm used to, I think. So it's harder to recognize.
Okay. And is she aware of you?
I guess this means I'm blended, but I'm like, I am her. She is me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it doesn't feel like I'm overwhelmed by her feelings or anything. I just feel like,
What do you notice about her? What does it feel like to be her?
she's really doubtful that we're going to find those examples
Examples
of like trustworthy men.
Oh, okay.
I just asked her what she thinks about you, and she was like, kind of got almost a little bit like mad, like to be proven wrong or something. Like I wasn't trying to like say that she was wrong, but just, yeah, what do you think about this right here though? And she's like, oh, well.
Okay, so she has her doubts. What are her? Yeah, what else can you say about like her feelings?
She thinks that, and this I do agree to. I agree. And she thinks like every person, every man or otherwise is capable of hurting us.
Hmm. Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah. If she really wants connection, she's just really scarred. Like tentative.
Still feel like she is you.
Oh, I feel her in my heart, but I'm not getting like a clear visual.
Okay. About the scarred. Does she feel like alone in that, or does she feel like that's something that she shares with self and has been processed and accepted by self?
It feels like I'm starting to get it more, the roots of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that I accept that it's there.
How do you feel towards her?
I'd love for her to have that loving support that she wants.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to help her figure out how to do that.
How do you feel towards her as someone who has scars?
A little, not a little. There's definitely grief.
Mm-hmm. Does the grief
yeah, we talked
feel... Go
about the
ahead, yeah.
grief.
We did,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does the grief feel connecting between the two of you, or does it feel like something that isolates her?
It feels connected between the two of us, but it still feels like a very sticky place.
Yeah. Yep, that's something we talked about. I think I had said something like, grief may not be the kind of thing that's unburdened in the way that other things are. It might be something that needs to be sat with and honored and just processed, taken a little more time with sometimes.
Yeah.
And it often does include a lot more questions than answers. Like, okay, here's this grief from this trauma, these traumas, and how will I ever trust again? And it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that's kind of where we left it, is not bullshitting her.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of those figure it out parts, they really felt like if they could just do healing in this particular way, then yeah, some sort of magic puzzle pieces would click into place and we wouldn't have those hangups and we wouldn't have those fears. And she's relieved. This young part is so relieved to not be like under their shadow anymore, to
Mm-hmm.
not be bullshitted.
Yeah. Yeah, she needs you to welcome her fear and understand it kind of inside and out, and her grief. And that will also inform you on that question of how do we trust? Who do we trust?
One step at a time. Yeah, that's what comes to mind. Like,
What does she think about all this? Does that sound like the right move? Is that what she wants? Is more of your being with her in that grief, being with her with the scars? Or does she have something else that she wants?
it's just kind of bringing up as far as what she wants, just kind of pointing to something that I mentioned earlier in this call of like this week, there's been instances where I sort of people pleased
Mm-hmm.
and in a situation with a close male, and then luckily like what I had verbally offered in order to people please or soothe the situation didn't need to happen, and I left soon after, so it was like I didn't actually have to. I'm really glad that I didn't have to follow up on those words that I was just
Mm-hmm.
a part was offering to soothe.
Mm-hmm.
And then sleeping on it and waking up this morning with this really clear realization that that's what I said and what I offered is not actually what I'm comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's okay for me to say that. It's okay for me to go back on something and say, that doesn't actually feel comfortable to me. I'd rather not. And that's like she can see potential of trust if I am able to keep doing that. I'm able to recognize when we've done something out of fear or habit, and then check back in and say, oh, wait, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense to me. Like I can't develop trust with someone if I'm like placating them.
Right. And if your own parts don't trust you to be leading the system.
Yeah.
She's saying, well, look, this people pleaser almost got us into something we didn't want. Or
bad. Yeah, really, it could have been really bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can let her know that you get that. And that people pleaser part can be one that you continue working with.
I don't think I've really worked with that one, which just kind of dawned on me right now. Yeah. I've mentioned it, but I don't think I've really turned towards that part. Yeah, this young one really wants me to keep being honest with myself and being honest with other people.
Can you explain more about what that what that means?
Like honoring like people pleasing is not being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Saying something to continue to feel safe with a man is not always being honest. It's just saying or doing something for the sake of feeling safer, or like creating the illusion of being safer and like placating.
Mm. Okay. So if I'm just seeing this clearly, this young part is saying that people pleasing isn't honoring her, really. It's not honoring
Yeah.
the system. It's not being self-led. But I'm also hearing that the people pleasing is itself a role, a tool that a protector uses to feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, which is kind of ironic because that's exactly right. Like the part about it, people pleasing is not honoring her and her feelings. But it is trying to keep her safe.
Right. Does she need anything more from you now? Does she want to share more with you now, or should we turn to the people-pleasing one, or what feels right?
I think she'd like me to just continue checking in with her like I've been doing in small ways and like we are now, and just that she's here in my heart and I can it's like she's not mad at the parts that are trying to keep her safe. They're just not honoring how she really feels, and that's frustrating for her. And I think if she can have a voice in the room, yeah, like they can keep doing what they're doing, and yes, please go and work with them. But also like just keep checking back in with me throughout your weeks, you know, like just keep kind of referring back and checking in if you know, if I'm safe, yes, but am I being honored?
Okay. Is there any intention that you want to set more or differently? Something that we should think about different from last time so that she feels more certain about that?
I feel pretty clear that I can reach her, like how I can reach her. She's showing me, like putting my hand on my heart, and that's a way for us to sort of commune and communicate. She's kind of giving me the go ahead, like, yeah, you're good.
Okay.
The grief part. Oh, the grief part. She's, yeah. Yeah, there's some processing, maybe journaling or writing out letters that I think could be really good, like we talked about at the end of the last session. That's something that I can do for her. Yeah, maybe we can just have a quick check-in with this protector, people pleasing, kind of keeping her safe part.
Okay. How do you notice it?
Tension in my like jaw and face. Good nervousness.
How do you feel towards it?
Actually happy to meet it. Like, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I know those sensations really well, and I don't think that I had explicitly connected them to this part.
Okay. Just invite it to notice you. Ask it what it wants you to know.
It wants me to know that it's really good at observing other people.
Yeah?
Eagle eye. That's what I said. Yeah.
Eagle eye.
Yeah, like being one step ahead of what somebody might want or want to hear. It said, like, look how pretty I make everything.
Makes
but the
sense to you?
visual, yes, and the visual is interesting. Like, kind of, wow, putting fresh flowers over manure. Like, look how pretty I made it.
Yeah. And why does it do that?
The ugliness is not safe.
Okay. And the ugliness is external.
Feels kind of both.
Okay. Just ask more about that. Whose ugliness and how does it make us not safe?
So this part saying like being oppositional is not safe, being defiant, that's the like ugliness, or that could create ugliness. And instead it's being flowery and sweet.
Okay. Makes sense to you?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Just acknowledging that it is really good at that job.
Mm-hmm.
It knows how to do that very well.
And how about its concern about the not safety? Are you acknowledging that, at least in the historical context of this part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in recent, very recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
People don't like it when you, people would rather you go along with what they want.
Yeah, pretty much. And people like when you're nice and flowery.
Yeah, it's so much easier for them in their parts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
How old does it think you are?
It said 5.
Mm.
That seemed like a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but okay, yeah. I mean, it's kind of pointing to the young one.
Mm-hmm.
She's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just giving it a second to recognize the difference between us. Like, between me and the young girl.
The young girl really didn't have a lot of options about how she could navigate the people in her world.
Right.
Or who she could be around.
The only option was to be flowery and nice to make it easier.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's right.
So has this part got a good look at you, and does it have any understanding of your powers?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, I woke up this morning just so clear as day, like this clear message of seeing how that played out last night, and this close call of like, you were offering up something that you were not wanting to do, but you felt like you had to. And thank God you didn't actually have to, but like, whoa, that's not what we want.
Yeah. And so what does it think about your capacity to lead in that kind of scenario?
It's a bit flabbergasted by the new understanding, like the difference between this 5-year-old's experience of these are the people that I'm surrounded by. I don't have any control over that. So I have to learn this skill, versus now, and that we get to choose who comes into our world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like stunned by that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the giant matrix of decisions and consequences that you have now when it comes to how you might say no to something.
Yeah. Yeah, so many more paths available.
What does it need from you going forward?
It's like it wants to help. Yeah, it wants to help find those people. It's excited by that idea.
Help find the people that are trustworthy?
Yeah, and help make those choices that make us safe.
Okay. I'm a little confused. It felt like kind of a departure from the idea of self leading in a scenario like happened whenever that happened, where the people pleaser came up. Maybe you already resolved that and this part's cool with that, but because there are going to be people in your life, and they are going to continue having parts that don't like when you are oppositional and defiant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because that people pleaser part when you were talking, it said like that I don't really get it completely. Like, there's still moments where it's really hard.
Yes. Yeah. So what does it need from you in those moments?
Take a breath.
Yeah, what's this level of trust for you, for self, to be able to navigate those?
Weary.
Uh-huh.
It's like, 90 something percent of the time good, but there's this other percentage that, yeah, it's like, well, it's all good and well until these certain things happen, and then there's no other choice but to people please. That's what it feels like.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge that there may be some truth to that. There may be times of real danger when honesty is not the best policy.
Yeah. Okay. And I can see this sort of slingshot effect. Like, yes, to what you just said about that is a real possibility in the world. And then also internally, like, I'm seeing like it's almost inevitable that it slings back to the people pleasing when there's these other parts, or this other part that's like honest to like almost a brutal degree.
Yeah. Yes. Brutally honest part.
Yep. Okay. That relationship's important. Yeah.
It is. You ever worked with that part?
Not explicitly, I don't think. And definitely not
for you.
like, I think too, like definitely not in this connection and like specific polarization.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And that is helpful.
So if I'm hearing it right, then this people pleaser part is saying, look, the brutally honest part, if that's going to be there in the 10% times when this is a problem, then it's going to make things worse. Something
Actually,
like
it's like the brutally honest part is kind of the larger majority.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other smaller percentage is like the people pleasing inevitable slingshot from so much
right.
brutal honesty.
Because brutal honesty is leading so much.
Yes.
People pleaser has to be in the background or
bound to come up.
Taking care of those other situations or the ones that brutally honest got us into, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely
Okay.
brutal honesty got us to the point of feeling kind of guilty and bad. Like we should probably put some flowers on that manure.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And now I understand more about that kind of the internal ugly is
Yeah.
I was brutally honest and oh shit, this is manure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see that now better too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that they're doing a dance together.
Should we take a moment to get to know brutally honest?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay. At the top of this call, when we first started talking, you were telling me about your other IFS work, and part of me had this concern of like, are you doing too much IFS? So I don't want to push you.
I have that same concern part too.
Yeah, I don't want to push you or feel like, because if parts need follow up, and it's great, like you're good at this, you're able to just see parts and connect with them, and what ends up happening is you have a big Rolodex of parts to follow up with. So
I think it's like what feels relieving and different about that proposition, and even just like going to the people pleaser, putting flowers on the manure, like, and then understanding kind of that what that internal manure might, what they're pointing to. Like these are parts that I've actually not explicitly gone to.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel like I definitely have like a similar part that's like, let's not like beat a dead horse. That's a terrible expression, but like let's not go over and over and over something just because we really know how to do parts work and we're really into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I got time if you'd like to.
Yeah, I'd like to understand this like dance between them a little bit.
Okay.
More.
How do you notice the brutally honest part?
It's like it's in my hands, it's shoulders, arms, hands, like forward, kind of, force to be reckoned with. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you how it is. Yeah, and notice it like very strongly in my right hand.
How do you feel towards it?
I don't know if this is a part or me, but it's proud. Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, you go, girl.
Okay.
Yeah, that feels party. Like that feels like just another part that really likes to see that fire.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just kind of cheering her on. Like they like that.
Yeah. But we just met a part that really doesn't like it. Causes some problems for that other part.
So many problems. Yeah.
Okay, see if you can get some space from the cheerleading ones. Ask the brutally honest part for space so you can get to know it better.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing her as like The cheerleaders ran off. They're like having a party. And then I see this teenage-ish, arms crossed, kind of sassy, like one hip out, one foot pointed out, like just kind of this sassy, defiant posture.
Feeling curious?
Yeah.
Okay, let her know.
Yeah.
What does she want you to know?
She says, I get stuff done. She said, yes. I get shit done. I help people see the truth. I help they respect us more. Yeah, there's definitely something about like getting shit done and getting respect.
Getting shit done, kind of like getting real clear on stuff, cutting through the bullshit. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And what would happen if she didn't do that?
Then we're swimming in a bunch of bullshit, is what she said.
Yeah.
Wasting time.
Yeah. And is it clear to you what she's referring to, that bullshit and that time wasting?
Yeah, it's like the opposition that she feels with the put flowers on the manure part is the same opposition that she feels to external people, which is like when she senses somebody people pleasing us or placating us or trying to like get on our good side or put a mask on in some way. Yeah. She's like, I see through all your shit.
Yeah. And then she has the courage to just say it, right?
She does.
And it does get shit done in a relationship. It gets things moving along.
Start some fires.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But it does, it ignites things, sometimes for good. Sometimes it's a little too much combustion. A little too much too soon. But yeah, she's like, that's how she stays safe.
Yeah. And maybe you already understand, but I'm really curious about the safety aspect. Because, wasting time with bullshit, okay, I get why you'd want to avoid that, but...
Why is that unsafe?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's showing me that, like, two-faced thing again, like... She doesn't like the mask, and she wants to see beyond it. And she's really frightened by people putting on, like, that nice face.
Yeah.
Because she thinks there's going to be an ugly face on the other side.
She's probably seen a lot of that.
Yes.
Yep.
And less about, like, well, no, the quantity is there. She has seen a lot of it, but it's also like the key relationships that she saw that within. Yeah, it's not just like seeing a lot of that out in the world. Like, sure, she can point to lots of examples of that far away from us or just in the general environment, but like the fact that it's so close to home so often for her is like makes it extra dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Show her appreciation.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate her fierceness. I really appreciate her bravery. Her courage. Her defiance.
Mm-hmm. Does she see her connection with these other parts, this people pleaser or this exile?
She definitely thinks she's protecting the exile.
Mm-hmm.
Who has a hard time being able to decipher and observe, And her relationship with the people pleaser is like disgust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no time for that.
Okay.
Yeah, she very much rejects like that's even a part of us.
Yeah. Okay. You might, I don't know if this will be helpful, but you might fill her in a little bit on how that people pleaser is often a reaction to her being in control.
Mm.
It doesn't mean it's her fault or she's responsible or anything, but just, don't know.
Right, but can she see that reaction?
Yeah. Just you being honest with her.
Yeah. Mm.
And what does she think about your capacity to lead?
She has taken the wheel a lot,
Mm-hmm.
especially in romantic relationships, mostly. And uh, yeah, it's like I'm just feeling kind of a bit of her shame in like being able to take over so quick and push me out.
She has shame about that?
She seems like embarrassed.
Just let her know it's really normal and that all parts are good and welcome and there for a good reason.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at her.
Yeah, and when she talks about keeping you safe, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
that you can make space for her shame feelings. She can be herself around you.
Yeah, that's nice. She definitely is showing me like the conflict that she's been feeling, where she's like, even as she's taking over, she's kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Right. So what does she need from you?
Yeah, to work with her. Like instead of, okay, so I can kind of see the like, oh shit, here we go as a different part actually, and maybe it's a part of hers, but it's like instead of assessing what's coming out of my mouth and how brutally honest it might be, or before it's coming out of my mouth, that oh shit, here we go. It's almost like it just like surrenders to that part, just being brutally honest, and it's like a newer concept to be with that brutal honesty and recognize that that part's here.
Yeah.
I mean, she's also, I mean, she's pissed off about the people pleasing. So she's definitely like, cut that out.
Sure. And the people pleasing's pissed off about her, and that's normal. And, you know, she doesn't have to like all the parts, so that's fine. But I would, if it feels right, pose the same question that I posed the people pleaser of like, can she imagine self leading in some of those times when she feels like she needs to lead? Does she have any faith in that? Does she have any trust that
Yeah, if I'm able to hold both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure both of them.
Self has a quality of creativity. You know, when the situation, you don't know how much honesty it calls for, and they're all kind of unique. You got one part saying, be brutally honest, and another part saying, just be flowery.
I think it's important too that they don't have to like each other, but that we can communicate. We can be in the same room. I do feel like so recognizing the age of this teenager and where she's at in life versus the people pleaser feeling 5. I'm pointing to the 5-year-old and being very closely identified with her. Like,
yes.
I'm just pointing that difference out to both of them. Yeah, to just highlight, like, this was the coping mechanism when we had no other choice available that we could see.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, we developed this other coping mechanism.
Yep.
Because we could.
Yep. They all make sense. They've all helped you out.
Yeah, and like, it helps bring compassion to the people-pleasing part because she's so young and really that was the best option.
Yeah, and they can all be in that room with self where they can still vote, when you're in a situation, and it's great to have a part saying, be honest, and you can consider that and check in with that, and the people pleaser, all of them. And you can show them your relationship with the exile part too.
They were just pointing to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she needs to feel safer for them to be able to relax more.
Right. Okay. Congratulations on your new trifecta of parts here to work with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you know what the next steps are? Do these parts have requests?
The processing or being with the grief of the 5-year-old for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it is it's very sticky, and I can feel where that, just like kind of stalls things out. And I can hold a lot of compassion for why that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think it's really interesting that I didn't really see this like specific polarization or meet with these parts until going to the exile that they protect. Like, that that's an interesting order of things, but it was almost like I had to recognize a 5-year-old's experience to be able to acknowledge the existence of these protectors.
Yep. Yeah, she helped point them out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think just more like not going over her scenes and stuff like that. It doesn't feel like that, but it does feel like really just honoring how she felt and being curious about that and remaining curious about that. I know when we first met her, it was shown to me like a series of ages. And that young 5-year-old being like an origin point, but that there were specific other ages that she identified with. And yeah, I'm sure going to those sort of iterations or points in her experience. Yeah.
I'm nodding.
I'm just in a bit of like wonderment.
I think it's really great.
Yeah. I'm just like
Be able to
looking
see those
around.
parts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Feels like looking around with new eyes in a way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's room for all of them.
Just feel like an all right place to stop.
Yeah, that feels really good.
Okay. All right. Bravo.
Thank you so much.
Hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah,
And,
I think it's on the calendar.
Great. Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was only an hour and a half. Not that that's not a long time, but like, gosh, can kind of feel like timeless and.
Yeah. Well, we spent the first third talking about stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Oof. All right. I hope you have a really good night. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
See you next time. Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.